And friends, at this time, we are going to begin the funeral services. If you have a cell phone or a pager, I would ask for you to please take a moment to turn it off or place it in the silent mode. And official services will be Rabbi Ari Margolis and Cantor Lori Akers from Congregation Or Shalom. And as we begin the service, the clergy will lead the family in the tradition of Kriya.
For those of you who have the Kriya ribbons, we're going to invite you to come gather right over here. Yeah, you're going to stay there. We're going to gather around you.
Thank you. Are you the Cantor? Hello. I'm Naida's sister. Get up.
So we're here today, not because of our choosing, but because we have to be. And never thought this day would come because she just kept going. But here we are, and that's why we are 20. And so we are going to begin our time together for this blessing to allow us to make this care, to show how close we were just 20. So please share this blessing together. Repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai. Dayan ha'emet. Blessed are you, O God.
Blessed are you, O God.
Who judges in truth.
Who judges in truth.
Amen.
Amen.
And this is our truth that we have to accept, not because we want to, but because it is our truth. That's the only way that we can bring her with us. And that's why our hearts are torn, so I invite you to take the ribbon and make it tear upwards from the bottom to about a third or halfway.
I'm sorry. What? Oh, okay. Thank you. You too, You too.
It is?
Let's get started.
Yeah. Okay, you want to do it now? Yeah, yes. Oh, yeah.
Peggy, your dress is beautiful.
So I'm going to invite you to take a moment to share with one another some strength for this moment in ways that words cannot. I turn into one another with hugs.
She's gonna, but I got the good looking boys. He's gonna be the hardest to kill.
How about this one?
You're younger. Your beard is so, makes you so distinguished. Yeah.
Bruchim Habaim, welcome to all of us who have come here today to honor our beloved Naida Meyers, who has meant so much to us in her life, and to her sister Bobby, to Adele and Tom and Peggy and Marty and Leroy and Merrill. She was an incredible matriarch who has felt like she was going to be here forever, and she will, just in a different way than we're used to. And to her grandchildren, Michelle and Ivan, to Sean and Zach, Michael and Julia, and Jared, Sally, and we also remember her connection to Shayna, and to Reuven and Javier. You were the light of her life. She appreciated so much having the honor of being your Bubby, your grandmother. And today I bring to you this poem to reflect on some of the ways that Naida lived. Life owes me nothing. Let the years bring cloud or azure, joy or tears. Already a full cup I've qualified, already wept and loved and laughed, and seen in ever endless ways, new beauties overwhelm the days. Life owes me naught, no pain that waits can steal the wealth from memory's gates. No aftermath of anguish slow can quench the soul fire's early glow. I breathe, exulting every breath, embracing life, ignoring death. Life owes me nothing. One clear morn is boon enough for being born. And be 90 or 10, no need for me to question when. While life is mine, I'll find it good and greet each hour with gratitude. And isn't this how Naida lived? The tenacious, detail-oriented, step-by-step director of our lives. The woman who always had a smile, who found her way through challenges and didn't let them define her life, who looked to the future with optimism and created an incredible family and a legacy that we all hold dear. Our beloved Naida has made an incredible and indelible impact in our world, and certainly met every challenge with a smile. And so we are here now to honor and to remember her, even through our tears, to say thank you. Thank you for every moment that we were blessed to be able to share with her. And thank you for the ability to take so many life lessons with us as we make her memory a blessing. We turn to the words of our tradition for some comfort and some hope to express what we wish for her soul and for ours in this time. And so we begin with the words of Psalm 16 as we call upon Cantor Lori to come forward.
So we have the gifts of these psalms, our ancient prayers that provide comfort during these times. And Psalm 16 says, Shaviti Adonai L'negdi ta'amid, God is always with us. A reminder that just as Naida's presence will be felt eternally, we hold on to the light and the love and the protection that guides us even during our darkest moments. Shiviti Adonai L'negdi tamid ki mimini bal emot lachein samach libi vayagel kivodi Af basari yishkon lavetach ki lo tazov nafshi vishol lo titein chasidcha lirot shachat Todi ein yorachim So vasimachot et panecha nimot b'mincha netzach.
And we also turn to the words of Psalm 23 as we express this hope that we are always supported in our lives. We also pray in this 23rd Psalm for comfort and for strength in this time of remembrance. Please join together with me. God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God maketh me to lie down in green pastures. God leadeth me beside the still waters. God restoreth my soul. God leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for God's name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of God forever. And as we pray now that Naida's soul is under the protection of God and at peace, this is our time to lift up words of chesped, words that honor the legacy that she has brought to us through her love and through her wisdom, through her care, and through her detail-oriented guidance. And so we're going to first call upon Linda Moore to come forward to share some reflections.
Thank you. I didn't know it would be so soon. Excuse my voice. I've had a lot of emotions, so I'm sort of hoarse right now, but I'm not sick. I'm just having a lot of problems with the passing of my aunt. So what I want to say is there are aunts and there are aunties, and then there are special aunts, words who you can't put into words. This aunt, Naida, was like my second mom. All the love and comfort she gave me, my sister, and my brother. You see, my parents were divorced when we were young, and we moved to California. And every summer, she would open her house for us so we could spend the summer with our dad. We would walk or we would run into her home, and there would be my three cousins, Adele, Peggy, where's Leroy? And Leroy. Thank you, Leroy. And of course, Hawaiian fruit punch. That was our biggest treat because our parents wouldn't let us have it. But she always had it. Excuse me if I sound a little bit hoarse. As the years passed, I grew up and I realized what a beautiful person I had in my life. A second mom, someone who I could always talk to and who gave me the guidance without judgment. Aunt Naida gave Tony and I, 58 years ago, a wedding reception in Chicago. Tony was in the military, and we were living in California, but we were stationed in Fort Belvoir. And as we drove through Chicago, she opened her house to all the aunts and relatives and gave us a really nice wedding reception. When I look back now, thank goodness, because we didn't have enough money to even drive to Fort Belvoir. But because of the reception, we got a little bit of extra cash, but that doesn't matter right now. Okay, yes, she was a daughter. Aunt Naida was a daughter, a wife, a mom, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. But she was also, in my eyes, the greatest aunt anyone could ever ask for. I was so blessed to be able to visit with her the last 14 years every October because our job had us in Michigan and in Atlanta. October, Auntie Naida. Monday nights, dinner at her house, or just talking with her introducing us to everybody in her building. Aunt Naida. Okay, and I have one more thing. Well, I'll finish this first, and then I'll just put aside. Aunt Naida, you might be gone, but you'll always be in my heart and everybody else's heart. And you will never be forgotten. Be sure to give Uncle Buddy a huge hug for me. I love you, Linda. And I think I'm speaking for my sister and brother. My sister and I actually were at that wedding, which was a long time ago, but we were little. And this is just a sidebar, the only other thing I was thinking of is we were all Cub fans, and my brother passed away, I think it was like 14 years ago. We were living in Michigan, and she organized at Wrigley Field for me to come over from Michigan with his ashes, and we had Peggy and Adele. She called Wrigley Field, and they said, you can't spread ashes, but you can go on tours. And when you go on tours, they usually look away, and you could spread the ashes. And she organized that whole thing for us. So my brother got his wish. He got to be spread at Wrigley Field. And then the other thing, because we were all Cub fans. Was your dad a Cub fan too? Okay, we all grew up as Cub fans. You too? Yay, Cubs. And he would take us to all the games. See, my dad and Uncle Buddy, Naida's husband, were brothers. That's how that works. But when they were on the World Series, how many years ago? 10?
Yeah.
When they won the World Series, my aunt went, well, she didn't go online because I don't think she knew Amazon, but she went and sent all of us a T-shirt, World Series champ, Cubs, and a beautiful scarf. And I still have that in my closet, and I will keep it close to my heart. I love you, Aunt Naida, and I'm going to miss you more than anything. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for your beautiful words, and I think the only way to respond to that is go Cubs go. And now we're going to call upon Tom and Adele to come forward to share your reflections for your mother.
Well, I'm Adele. I think you know me. My mother was such a lovely lady. She was always warm and welcoming, no matter if she previously knew the person or not. She was not necessarily real outgoing and didn't really initiate conversations, but she always loved our friends. My friends, my siblings' friends, my children's friends, and even Javi. And she loved having all of our friends included at any family gathering. She did consider everybody family. One friend of mine from way back in my youth told me yesterday that she remembers feeling so very welcome at our house way back when. You just heard from my cousin Linda how my mother welcomed her and her siblings into our home for the duration of every summer. And they became my big sisters and brother. And Linda, we didn't have Hawaiian punch at home unless you were there. So it became a special treat for us too. She loved dogs. She would tell me that she used to have a dream of owning a lot of land and all the homeless dogs could live there. 4.5 years ago, we started getting together as a family every Monday evening, and that was Michelle's idea. It started out in her Skokie condo as just a few of us in order to give her a little extra attention at the time. And then it moved to Northbrook with her. It ended up expanding to more and more family, including another friend who she quickly considered family, another granddaughter. Each Monday we'd bring over food, set up extra tables and chairs, and enjoy each other's company for the next several hours. People from her building would see us coming in, and they knew that, of course, it must be Monday. She was very detail-oriented, which Rabbi Ari already mentioned, and enjoyed being on committees and taking on roles for various things. As a child, I remember her being on the Ways and Means Committee at our school's PTA. She was on the board of her condo building when she lived in Skokie and didn't resign from it until she moved to the Lodge of Northbrook. There, she took on organizing the group that would be sitting together at dinner table in the dining room each Taco Tuesday. right? She got reservation names to the kitchen on time and made sure everything went smoothly. As she was growing up, Mom often gave the job of she was also often given the job of taking charge of my Aunt Bobby, her younger sister, and that was a job that Mom took very seriously, much to the chagrin of her sister. As you probably suspected, she wanted to make sure things were done right and went well. Just this week, from her hospital bed, feeling horrible, she realized that it was Tuesday and that she would not make it for dinner on Taco Tuesday. She instructed us to go to her phone, look up a phone number, and insisted that we let Betty know that she would not be there for dinner tonight. She was comfortable with technology. As I sometimes hear people my age or younger talk about computers or cell phones and say, "Oh, I'm old school," or "I'm too old for that," I think of my mother, who was quite used to receiving emails on her phone, responding, taking and sharing photos, viewing live streams, and even recently opened an online bank account. She actually did much of her communicating by text and always punctuated it throughout with several emojis. I see heads nodding. In fact, she started using emojis before we did. Years ago, when emojis started to be popular, she sent out a text message to Michelle and to me saying, "Look what I found," and included a whole slew of various animals, cars, airplanes, whatever she found. We then had to ask her, "How did you do that?" She remained sharp as a tack. She was a very good bridge player. With my dad, she was part of many social bridge groups, played in organized bridge clubs, and even traveled to different cities in the country to play bridge tournaments, racking up master's points along the way. After Dad died, she did continue with bridge, both with her social groups and then with friends, such as Arlene from her building in Northbrook. She loved reading and all things cerebral and educational. Besides playing bridge at her building, she enjoyed the book club and occasional lecturers there, and I'm sure there was more. When Dad died, she took up piano as a way to keep her mind sharp. She started lessons at a local piano store, bought a keyboard, and continued with private lessons at the instructor's home. Through this, she joined other piano students in piano salons a few times a year, where they would get together at each other's homes and play a piece. One time, she was thrilled to be part of a piano recital at a music store downtown and play on a very expensive Yamaha piano. I have a picture of her standing in front of that. Again, in the hospital this week, nurses kept asking her standard questions to test her cognitive state at the moment, and Javi, she loved you. Once, when asked who the current president is, she responded, "Oh no, don't ask me that." And then she made a snarky comment about him. And then to that, the nurse said, "Okay then, you're fine." She loved her Judaism. She loved the culture, the Jewish symbols, pretty much anything that looked Jewish related. When my children were very young, at a birthday party for Sean, my dear friend Barb gave him a beautiful Fisher-Price castle along with a moat and people and cannonballs. And then she also gave Michelle a little sibling gift of, it was some foam jigsaw punch-out tiles with Hebrew letters in them. Well, Mom just fixated on those Hebrew letter tiles because they're Hebrew. And she talked about it all day, how nice they were. In addition to loving her Judaism, she loved our temple in Vernon Hills, Congregation or Shalom, where my family eventually affiliated with. She got to know people there and frequently told me how much she really liked them, how warm and friendly they were, and she enjoyed attending services and events there. Sometimes she'd run into someone while out and about, and that someone is, Andy, there you are. And then she'd tell me all about it. Look who I found. Last night, a friend from Temple sent me a condolence email telling how much she remembers talking to her at so many high holiday services. When I was a child, my family was part of 4 different congregations. One of the changes was because we moved from South Chicago to Skokie, and the synagogue moved in the other direction, out south. And the other 2 changes were probably for some other reasons of other convenience, but it showed that they didn't have any deep roots at those congregations. But when she started coming with me to Or Shalom, I used to see her eyes light up. So what kind of things did she say that left indelible marks with me? It's so much easier to tell the truth than a lie. Because if you lie, you have to remember everything you made up to support that lie. If you don't want people to know something, don't tell anyone. You can't be friends with everyone. Don't worry about it. Just move on. Adele, go brush your hair. And the very popular, always wear decent underwear in case you're in an accident. Well, I've already rambled with my disassociated thoughts and memories. Thank you. I was advised not to let my speech get too long, but once I got started, I just couldn't stop. Mom, I love you. I already miss you. Rest in peace, and give my love to Dad.
All right, mine's going to be short because she covered 90% of what I was going to say anyway, and it was all so lovely. It was so great. Of course, everybody I think knows me, but I am Adele's husband, Tom, and I just wanted to tell you what Adele's mom has meant to me. And now, from now on, I'll just refer to her as Mom. From the beginning, Mom was always warm and welcoming. When I married Adele, I knew I would be accepted by Adele's parents, which made it all so comfortable and right. Mom valued the concept of family, that you were expected to be part of all the family events and get-togethers. She expected nothing less. And joyfully, I participated in all of that. And then in recent times, when she was the only parent left, she was the matriarch of the family, respectfully giving space to raise our family, but providing incredible support for Adele, myself, and our children. Every night was our dinner with Nana event. And of course, Adele talked about that. And that was so special. The fact that we just brought together the family that was or the family that was here. If any family came in, we'd include them. She included Ivan's parents, Adele's husband.
Michelle.
What did I say?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. I have no brain today. Okay, so, but there were such joyous events, not only was our family, Aunt Bobby was there, we could do things where, we would ask them about them growing up, and they would tell us all these stories about when they grew up on the South Side. And these were stories that if we didn't talk about that, we would never have known about it. It was just so special. It was just so special. So, since we live close, we volunteered to help her with anything she needed, especially when she could no longer get out herself and drive. I loved doing that. And she was always so appreciative and would call me Terrific Tom. I cannot express how much I loved her, and I will so miss her. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Adele and Tom, for these heartfelt tributes to an incredible woman. And we hope and pray that those Mondays will still continue in her honor. And now we're going to call upon Peggy to come and share some words about your mother.
Thank you. Well, I'm Naida's other daughter, as most of you know. My mom was a very special person. She was extremely caring, loving, friendly, talkative, self-confident in being who she was. She was a take-charge person, but yet she was very sensitive and always resilient. She grew up with a mother that ended up being the primary breadwinner due to her father's illness, which shaped her. From her own words in a family history heirloom book that she wrote for her first grandchild, she said her father taught her to love higher education, reading, literature, and the arts. And her mother taught her to value food preparation and the business world. She attended U of I Navy Pier for 1 year, and then Northwestern University part-time for 3 years. That was after she had found employment as a legal secretary in a downtown Chicago law firm. She loved working and making money, but when her children were born, her family took priority, and she stayed home to raise us until Leroy was in school full-time. She then continued working until age 80 when she had a hip replacement surgery. She was a lifelong learner. As a young child, I remember having to be quiet when my mom was taking online classes via TV College on WTTW. That was like the original online class. She and my dad played competitive bridge, and she continued playing bridge even up until last week. She was on the board, as Adele mentioned, and I'm probably repeating myself, and it's a lot of things that Adele mentioned, but she was on the board of her condo HOA until she moved to the lodge around 4 years ago. And at age 78, after my dad passed, she fulfilled a bucket list item of hers to learn to play the piano. Her family was everything to her. I had a wonderful childhood with fond memories of great family times. She was a great baker, making homemade bread and apple pies, especially after we went apple picking, and we loved when she made my grandmother's tegelach recipe. She loved gardening, and we would pick fresh vegetables from the backyard when available. And she loved her prized irises. And she even would give some of her bulbs to all of her children and spread them to Dallas and Philadelphia. And there's some pictures there of her prized irises. And she had them hanging on her wall. She loved them so much. There were many times that she always spoiled us with food, and she would always make something that everybody loved, sometimes making multiple entrees for the same meal. So I was lucky there. My mom was not a shopper. She disliked recreational shopping. She only shopped if she needed something and was on a mission. Everything with my mom had to have a purpose. I didn't have the usual mother-daughter date days, but we had a lot of quality time together when during summer breaks from college, she got me a job at the company she worked for, and I rode the 30-minute drive with her to and from work. So we had lots of great conversations. My parents were crazy about each other, and they did everything together. So much so that when invited to come for a mother-daughter weekend with my college roommates and their mothers, she initially refused to come without my dad, and he worked on Saturday mornings. She finally relented so I wouldn't be the only one without their mom for a mother-daughter night. And we compromised that my dad would join us mid-weekend. When the doorbell rang on Saturday afternoon, she could not get to that door fast enough to let him in. My mom and I remained close even after Marty and I moved to Dallas. We made a point of seeing each other often and found ways to stay connected. One of my favorite memories was when she finally agreed to go on her first girls' weekend, which was a multi-generational girls' weekend, visiting me in Dallas with my granny, which was her mother, my Aunt Bobby, which was her sister, and Adele, my sister. She cherished all her grandchildren and loved going to all my boys' activities when she visited. She didn't want to miss anything, and even at the age of almost 92, she made the trip to Disney World for her grandson's wedding, enduring an airline weather delay where she wasn't able to check into her hotel until after 4 a.m. She was fiercely independent, never wanting to be a burden to anyone. She always persevered, figured out new ways to do things, kept up with technology, made the best of situations, and created a new life for herself after my dad passed. Even though she had difficulty walking, she insisted on using her walker to keep physically active. And she still occasionally drove and never needed a caregiver. She was amazing, especially for her age. She was a take-charge organizer, and as Adele mentioned, even up to a few hours before we lost her, she was asking us to make sure everything was all set with her weekly Tuesday night dinner with friends from the lodge that she wasn't going to be able to make. It's so hard to imagine her being gone. I still don't believe it, especially since it was only a few days ago that Adele and I were discussing with her her upcoming 95th birthday celebration that we were planning. I will miss her immensely. Even the little things that all mothers do that make their children's eyes roll, I will miss. I love you, Mom. And I'm so blessed that you were my mom. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. And now we're going to invite your brother Leroy to come forward to share your words as well.
Kind of high up.
Yeah. I know, we're kind of taller
We're
than
taller.
everybody else, so we're really tall.
So I was only planning on telling a short story, but a couple of things that they said, just wanted to add to. And one of them mentioned the prize irises. And yes, we're in Pennsylvania, and we have the irises in our front yard. And
Front and back.
and are they front and back too, right?
And they blew around,
There they are. They just wouldn't stand up, so I had them down, but they're there.
Yeah.
they're going to be
So-
blooming in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so, yeah, we look forward to those irises coming up every year. And the other thing I want to add to is you mentioned how technology, and she always would be looking at the live streams of when she couldn't really travel much anymore, to our kids' graduations and to my daughter's college swim meets, when the big swim meets that were live streamed, that she would watch them on the computer or on her phone. I'm not really sure where she watched it, but yeah. So she watched those. Right?
Yes.
And then the other thing I was planning to bring up was they both mentioned how she learned piano at around age 80 or so. I forget exactly. But what wasn't mentioned is my son Jared was also taking lessons, at the time. And he was a teenager. He was like 13, 14 or something. And whenever we visited, my mom would prepare like a piano duet that they would play together, and would either send it to him in advance, or he could learn it really fast anyway. But yeah, then they would play together on her electric piano. Sometimes, I mean, she was very much a beginner, but she really liked to play those duets with him. So that was always a fun thing to watch. So that's all I was going to say. So do you want to add anything?
I just wanted to add that, I'm Meryl, I'm Leroy's wife, and when it became apparent that Leroy and I were going to make it official and get married, she and Dad, they took me in, and I just became another one of the family, and it's such a. You guys are such a warm family, and I really appreciate it. And Peggy and Adele are like my sisters, because I have two brothers, so I definitely gained some more sisters. And Mom really showed love and support, and she was the best mother-in-law anybody can ever hope for. And I know Marty and Tom will agree that we really hit the jackpot with her and Dad, and so I really thank them for showing me how to be a good mother-in-law when, God willing, the time ever happens. Nudge, nudge. So anyway, so yes, no pressure, be your people. Anyway, so yes, Mom, we love you. We are going to miss you. Okay.
Thank you for these lovely reflections, and I know that you had even mentioned that you were inspired by the Monday nights gatherings to be able to do that now out by you in Pennsylvania. So thank you for sharing. And now we're going to call upon Michelle to share some words about your grandmother.
Hi, buddy. He's a very social guy. So I have a lot I would love to say that it's hard to put into words. She meant so much to me. So I didn't put it in a lot of stories because there's just so much floating around in my head. So I just wanted to talk about how she was as a person, how great she was. So known as Nana to us grandkids, she had such a kind heart. But being kind was always important to her. And it wasn't just putting on a friendly face or voice that mattered. She valued genuine kindness. Nana was extremely welcoming and an inclusive person. She was always eager to include significant others and friends or extended family, people she decided became extended family, wherever she could. She just wanted to invite everyone. If she could have everyone in one place all the time, she would. She always would, right? She passed this on to her by raising three amazing children with the same attributes of genuine kindness and love. I'm so fortunate to have such a loving family. She was such a selfless and giving person, always so thoughtful and supportive of others. Right? All of us grandkids here had broad ranges of interests throughout our lives growing up, and she would always express interests in all of our random interests, whether they be changing throughout the years. She would always express that interest, whether she actually was interested or not. She always decided she was. On that note, she was also always eager to learn. Yeah. Yeah. For example, like my mom was saying about her technology, if there was something on her phone that she didn't understand or needed help with, she would ask us to show her how it worked. Even after solving the issue, for her, she always wanted to know, how did you do that? How how can I do it? What did you do? How does this work? She always wanted to learn. She was never afraid of technology simply because it was new to her. And she's been my inspiration to never stop learning. I've learned from her that it is never too late to educate oneself about something new. No one's ever too old to learn something. No one's ever too young to learn something. Any time you can learn something new. Nana was such a wonderful great-grandmother to my son. He really enjoyed spending time with her and learning from her. From his perspective, she actually invented, I don't know if you know this, but she invented counting on fingers. She would count to 4 for him on her hand, one at a time, and he thought it was the coolest thing ever. Whenever he wanted to see more counting, he would run up to her and hold up his fingers as best as he could with a big smile on his face so that she would do it again. But there was one Monday night on our weekly dinner when someone else counted on their fingers, and he had to then return to the true original source, my Nana, of course, to confirm that they were correct. She was an amazing grandmother. I already miss her so much. I hope we can all honor her by continuing to carry on her love, support, and kindness to others. I cherish every moment we had together. Our Monday night dinners were such a blessing. It was able to bring us, not only bring us closer and spend time with Nana, but with each other. And that was such a gift. And I have to thank her for that. I don't care whose idea it was for Monday night dinner. It was thanks to her, because it wouldn't have happened without her. And so for Nana, the time I spent with you was such a gift that I'm so grateful for. I love you so much. Thank you for being my Nana.
Thank you, Michelle, for this loving tribute to your grandmother on behalf of all of your fellow grandchildren. She meant so much to all of you, but you lit up her life in so many ways. And so I want to share with you these words of praise for a woman who lived a life like Naida did. In our tradition, there's a prayer called the Eshet Chayil, the woman of valor. But Naida wasn't your old-time traditional woman of valor. She was a modern woman of valor. And so I brought these modern words of a woman of valor that was written by Juliet Spitzer. She writes, "A good woman, so hard to find, is more precious than rubies, her circle cast with friendship deep, full of love and graceful ease. She is a woman of valor. She opens her hands to the poor. She does not fear the other. She extends her heart to those in need, encourages her friends to succeed. She is a woman of valor. Credit is hers for the fruit of her labors. Optimism is her might. Surrenders to God, she knows not despair, knows how to wrap you in her care. She is a woman of valor. Trust in her with your secret fears. Know that she'll hold you gently. When she speaks, wisdom spread around, her depth of compassion so profound. She is a woman of valor. She counts herself vital in the world and revels in its wonders. In others, she sees the divine, holds on dearly to her lifeline. She is a woman of valor. And so we praise her. We love her. We hold her with our eyes. And we pray that God is the safety that she needs to unlock all that she has been, and we let her goodness rise. This is our time to take all of those virtues that she shared with us to our hearts, and to allow her legacy to become a part of ours now, to live in the ways that she's taught us and to bring her goodness forth. As she grew up with Bobby on the south side of Chicago, the two of you really had to take care of one another, even though it was more her taking care of you in her eyes.
Right.
You had wonderful stories, though, to share of that childhood, even though it wasn't always easy. But you would find ways to smuggle a dog under your coats when you got onto the streetcars. Your sister was a goody two-shoes, a rule follower, and she did what she was told, and it's always got to be by the book. And that wasn't necessarily your way. And so you had your sister ways of interacting. But one thing was certain to everyone who saw, is that their love that was between you was steadfast and true always. And as Naida grew, she was fixed up on a blind date. And 9 months later, they were married. Not connected to anything that 9 months usually have to do with. They dated for 2 months, at which point your father was ready to propose. But the day he was going to do so, a friend came to him and said, "Are you going to pop the question?" And he said, No. So he had to wait. But not too much later, 2.5 months later, they were engaged. And once they were married, they were inseparable. That Naida would never leave his side. Even though she was a totally independent woman in so many ways, she wouldn't do anything without him. You reflected upon the time when you were in college and she invented the concept of Parents' Weekend at the University of Illinois instead of Mother's Weekend and Father's Weekend, because she wouldn't come down for Mother's Weekend without him, and she would come with him for Father's Weekend. So Naida was a trendsetter. She was really ahead of her time. She was such a smart woman. She knew shorthand and used her skills to get a job as an executive assistant. And when she first was in one of her earliest job interviews, she was there at a pretty young age, but she wowed them and was able to show her skills. She came into her first job, and when the company moved away, and because she was originally biking to the job, she had to get a new job biking in the other direction, up until the time the original company called her and said, "We miss you, we need you." And she said, "That's nice, but I need a car to get to you." And as they offered her more money, she said, "That's nice, but it's not enough money for a car." Until they finally gave in and gave her the money that she needed to buy her gremlin. She was so valuable to everyone who knew her. And you guys remember that gremlin well, especially having that vision of when she took you apple picking. The gremlin got stuck in the mud, and people gathered together and lifted the car up and carried it out of the mud. She loved spending her time with family. She loved being a mother. She loved being able to do things with you and teach you all that you need. And as she raised you to become the incredible people that you are, she also helped inspire each of you in the relationships that you have, because she and your father set forth such a loving example of what a beautiful relationship looks like. As much as she loved you, she always put him first. She let you know that husband and wife relationship was always the key, and the core. And while she didn't spend a lot of individual one-on-one time with each of you, she was there in the important moments. Like Adele, when you got your ears pierced right before your wedding. And even though you were not a tiny little tot anymore, she still held your hand while you were nervous about going through the piercing. She believed in education, she loved to learn, and she taught you all to do the same. And once your father passed, she had to find a new route, but she didn't wilt, she didn't fade. She found a new chapter. She moved ahead, headstrong and ready to keep on living the way that she had taught you guys to live. She had carried forth that tenacious attitude and shared it with others. Bobby, when you had an accident and were in rehab, she would not let you give up. She carried you through and made you believe in yourself the way she believed in you. And didn't she do that for each one of us at some point in our lives? If she didn't like the state of things, she didn't give up. She kept trying. She was forceful. She was tenacious. And she found a way through. She was a survivor, always figuring out a way, and kept her sharp attitude and bright thoughtfulness right up to the very end. At the senior living area place where she moved into with you, Bobby, you convinced her to move in, and the two of you were able to spend many times together in the place where you lived at home. She loved to do the activities that involved books and reading and competitive bridge, but she would not do bingo. She had no use for bingo. She only wanted to do activities that would make her smarter, that would allow her to use that intellect that she loved sharing with us. But she couldn't stand playing bridge with new people who just didn't know how to do it. She loved the arts, going to plays and musicals and concerts. And she she was one of the founding groups of the Holocaust Museum in Skokie. She put her loves and her passions into action. And as we heard so many reflections on the special relationships that she had with nature and with flowers and with dogs, she was always so thoughtful, focusing on what we wanted to talk about, not necessarily what she wanted to talk about. She was welcoming and warm and brought so many people into her family. Once you were part of the family, you were family. She also opened her heart again to find a companion through some of her later years, as she met Phil at a bereavement group. And the two of them were able to spend some lovely time in companionship, watching movies at night and then going back to one another's own apartments. And Phil became a part of the family as well. And it was Phil's passing that really inspired the Monday night dinners, when you realized you really wanted to make sure that you knew one another for as much time as you could have. And therefore, all of those moments have become a blessing for all of us. Adele, you shared a bunch of her mommyisms, but through those lessons she said to you, and through those lessons she demonstrated for you, you've each learned how to be resilient and strong. You've learned how to know that, yes, you might have limits, physical limits, but that when you keep pushing forward and when you open yourselves to the help that others are willing to give to you, that you can transcend just about anything. She taught you each to live with independence and yet to trust in beloved family. And those are difficult balances to find in our world and in our lives. And so as we remember all the gifts that she has given to us, I leave you with these words of poetry. They are not dead, those who leave us this great heritage of remembered joy. They still live in our hearts, in the happiness we knew, and in the dreams we shared. They still breathe in the lingering fragrance wind-blown from their favorite flowers. They still smile in the moonlight's silver and laugh at the sunlight's sparkling gold. They still speak in the echoes of words we've heard them say again and again. And they still move in the rhythm of waving grasses, in the dance of the tossing branches. They are not dead because their memory is warm in our hearts and comfort in our sorrow. They are not apart from us, but a part of us. For love is eternal, and those we love shall be with us throughout all eternity. Now we take Naida's love with us in a different way than before, but just as powerfully and just as much a part of us as she's always been. And we pray not only to make her memory a blessing every day, but to allow ourselves to live the way she's taught us, to treat one another with warmth and love and respect. And when we do, then we're creating the ability to make her memory a blessing to others through us. And may this be her legacy. And let us say, Amen. And so now we are going to invite Cantor Lori to come forward to share with us the words of El Malei Rachamim, the prayer for her soul, to pray that she is able to be at rest and at peace under the shadow of God's wings. And we invite you to please rise as a community as you're able.
El Malei Rachamim Shalchein Bamromin Hamsei Mincha Nechona Tahar Kanfei Hashchina Ba'al Malot Rim Kezohar Harakim Azhirim Et Nishmar Nejabat Abraham Ruben Mildred Shehar Leolama Leolama Baal Ashkireta Yasireta beseter kenafav leolamim vayitzror bitror ahim et nishmata Adonai unacharata v'tanuach b'shalom Bishalom al mishkava vinomar Amen. And we'll read it together at the bottom of the page, the second page of your pamphlet. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence, among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament unto the soul of Naida P. Meyers, who is gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring her under the cover of thy wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may her repose be peace. Amen.
Please be seated.
Friends, this concludes the services here in the chapel. The burial and interment services will continue at Shalom Memorial Park in Arlington Heights. For those of you traveling with us to the cemetery and the funeral procession, please be sure that your bright headlights and your four-way hazard flashes are on. We will be providing several of the cars in the procession with a magnetic orange flag to be placed on top of your car. And if you're driving in the procession, also please obtain an orange funeral safety sticker for your windshield. Following the interment, the family will be together for Shiva, returning back here to the funeral home until 5 p.m. And then tomorrow, Saturday, at Congregation Or Shalom from 5:30 until 8:30, and Sunday at the Lodge in Northbrook from 2 until 5 p.m. All of that information is on the service folder that you should have received when you came in. And if you did not receive one when you came in, we do have those for you as you leave. The family has also requested that any memorial contributions in her memory be made to either the Jewish United Fund or to Congregation Or Shalom or the charity of your choice. Again, that information is on the service folders. And for those of you joining us online, that information is also available on the website. At this time, I would ask everyone to please rise and stand in place. And as we call the grandchildren to come forward to serve as pallbearers, and will escort the casket, the clergy, and the family from the chapel.